also appreciate all of you being here today. Appreciate the Chamber and League of Women Voters sponsoring this event. These are really important for us to have the opportunity to not only tell you what's going on at Topeka, but also hopefully get good input and good questions from the audience so that we can make good, solid decisions that are representative of your wishes between now and the end of the session. The last 2 weeks on the Senate side have been really, really busy. Yesterday was the last day for committees to meet, with the exception of Fed and State and Ways and Means. So we've been trying to get as much bill work done in committees as we possibly could. I think we kicked out a large number of bills, and those will be debated on the Senate floor over the next 3 days. We'll be on the floor all day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of this week, working those bills. A couple of major bills that will work this week. Senate Ways and Means late Thursday night passed out our 2012 budget. I wish I had more specific details to share with you today, but it's my understanding it's over 1,000 pages long, and when I left as of yesterday, the bill brief had not been completed and they were having troubles with the computer system, which I know Peggy and Don will find hard to believe, but hopefully those details will be more readily available by the time I get back on Monday and I can share those with you. The highlights are that the Senate budget plan cuts $535 million from state spending. It leaves the state with a ending positive balance of about $35 million. It minimizes cuts to K-12 and meets the state's special education obligation. It provides appropriate resources for services for the poor and the elderly, and takes care of some other state needs. But I think the main numbers is it does make the appropriate cuts that we need to have the proper ending balance in 2012. And as I said, I'm anxious for the details as they emerge on Monday, and will certainly do my best to try to share those with you. Second thing that I worked on extensively this week and the prior weeks is CAPERS reform. The governor had kind of given that priority to the Senate, and I was selected to serve on the CAPERS Select Committee in the Senate. I know that's a big issue to a lot of people, and particularly in Emporia with our strong education community. The changes that we have made in Senate Bill 49 call for a 1.1% increase in employer contribution. It requires for Tier 1 employees an increase of 1% in January 1 of 2014, an additional 1% in 2015. So a total employer contribution increase of 2%. For 2-tier members, they're going to be given a choice. They can have a employee contribution increase of the same 2%, or they can forego the 2% increase, but in doing that, they also forego COLA raises. There is an increase in the employee benefit multiplier from 1.75% to 1.85%. And then the part that I'm maybe most excited about is the bill calls for a study commission to be established, and there are very specific appointments to be made to this, but it will be a group of legislators, state employees, and then also people from the private sector that run large pension programs. And this group will study retirement programs and what's best for the state going forward, and they are required to report back to the legislature by the end of the year. And so this plan takes care of it addresses the funding shortfall that we have in CAPERS. It also provides some credibility to the financial analysts that we are moving forward, so that our bond ratings don't drop, which I think is extremely important as we move forward. So I think it's a good bill. I know the House has been working on similar measures, and we'll end up in conference committee at some point with this, but I'm glad to see that we've got effort moving forward. Another thing that we did this week that I think was extremely popular, particularly in this community from the number of emails and phone calls and letters that I received, is the Senate voted 24-13 to override the governor's ERO on demolishing the Arts Commission. It wasn't an easy vote. There was a lot of pressure from the governor's office and those, but at the end of the day, I'm proud to say that I think I represented my district in what their wishes were, and was happy to vote against abolishing the commission. The budget plan, I do know, for the Senate does restore funding above the governor's recommendation for the Arts Commission. There is unfortunately, a 15% reduction in last year's level, but I think it's a manageable number, and hopefully we'll be able to keep that in. I do want to warn the community, under Kansas law, the governor does have line item veto, and I'm hopeful that the governor will see the tremendous amount of support for the arts and will reconsider his position on vetoing that. If you have strong opinions and want to share that with the governor's office, I would encourage you to do so. With that, I think I'll turn it over to Dawn because I really want to get to questions. I want to tell you I've really enjoyed my first session. I'm grateful for the opportunity that you guys have given me to serve, and I hope that you will continue to communicate with me because it really does help in getting a good feel for where our district is and what our district patrons want me to do. So please continue the communication.
Thank you, and again, thanks to our sponsors and our hosts and the crowds, I think unmistakably